Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Elaine Wijaya, a junior from Sekolah Pelita Harapan Lipa Village, and today I'll be explaining to you the role of AI for blackout prevention and restoration in villages all across Indonesia. Audience, let me ask you, what does this photo make you feel? Maybe uncertainty, isolation, a sense of fear? Well, for most of us here, darkness is something that's temporary. Maybe a childhood fear that we used to run away from. But for the millions of people out there, darkness is something that's routine due to the reoccurring blackouts that happens in the millions of villages out there in Indonesia. Because when blackouts happen, it's not simply power shutting off. It's children scurrying to find their parents. It's hospitals stressing out because their critical systems are down. It's a sense of fear and isolation and separation because their communication systems are all down. Because this is the statistics. There's over 3.23 outages per customer per year in Indonesia, with the average time being about 5.5 hours. It's even worse in these vulnerable locations such as Papua or Biak, being 9.72 outages every single year. Now, how does that affect you and me? Well, what if I told you that these blackouts create an economic loss of roughly 367 billion rupiah every 17,000 households? That's about 24 million rupiah every school, every house, every business. Other than that, it creates impacts on our daily lives, things that we don't even pay attention to. It creates disruption to our healthcare services, to our education, to our communication. I mean, how many of you here were less stressed out because you couldn't communicate with your friend out of town or your family members in a different country? Probably not that much. And further than that, research has shown the impacts on mental health blackouts can have. It creates a fear of isolation, stress from losing connection. And a research from 2026 shows that blackouts create a perception of inequality between these rural and urban populations, creating a sense of social isolation between them. Now, today I'll be taking you onto a journey of the 3 different problems that have led to blackouts in the 3 vulnerable regions of Indonesia. First of all, with Papua. Audience, if I ask you to think of Papua, what would you think? Maybe the luscious mountains or the plethora of coal and diamond mines? Well, exactly that. The mountainy terrain is what causes and makes repairs for these power and electrical grids so hard. This creates weak voltages and creates instability in the country, forcing these villages to use their own microgrids. And unless you're a superhero, you can't exactly control the sun or control the wind speeds. This creates an instability in these microgrids and hence more blackouts. Now let's think of Aceh. I'm sure you've all seen the news of the floods terrorizing them, creating blackouts of more than 3 days, from December 8th to 11th in 2025. Now, these floods and these weather and natural disasters creates fault lines that are difficult to pinpoint the exact location of, which makes restoration take days and sometimes even weeks. Now, finally, is Lombok. For the audience members out here that have lived in a 4-season country, let me ask you, what season creates the most blackouts? If your answer is the summer, then you're right, because that's the time where most people are inside their house with their ACs blasting. Now, tourism creates a situation similar to this. It creates an electricity demand and a spike in electricity demand that creates overheating in these generators and creates stress in them, which once again leads to more blackouts. So, is there a way to solve this? Well, yes, through AI. There are many different types of artificial intelligence, but today I'll be taking you through two of them that can help us solve the issues. First of all is machine learning and deep learning. These are your AI that makes predictions from past data. We're talking about your TikTok, Instagram, YouTube For You pages. Next is your reinforcement learning. This is the AI that learns through trial and error, just like a baby does. This is your Olaf in Disneyland, or the Neo robot you see in the news. But it's kind of boring if I just take you and explain to you what the solutions are. So if the audience members could please pull up their phone and scan the QR code. I've made a simplified AI model on the 3 different solutions provided for the 3 different problems I'm going to go through. Okay. So first of all, what is the solvable issue of Papua? It's the inefficiency of these microgrids. But what is a microgrid? Instead of just explaining to you, I'll let you figure it out yourself. If you could look at the top right corner and click on the link saying Papua microgrids, you can play along with how AI can help solve the issues of inefficient microgrids. So how does AI really solve it? First of all, data collection. It takes in different sensors. We're talking about your solar irradiance sensors, your temperature sensors, your energy motors, as well as your wind speed sensors. Now the AI takes in different data and relates it to the energy per hour as well as the cost per hour to run the different powers. Now, what makes it different from normal algorithms? Instead of reacting, AI can predict energy fluctuations as well as weather patterns and find the most efficient power distribution for both load shedding and battery control. So what does this do? A 2024 research in Australia shows that these AI-powered microgrids can reduce costs from 10.6 up to 20.6%. AI can also make these decisions in 0.01 second, which is about 10,000 times as faster than normal algorithms. This creates less overheating in generators and battery systems that can last longer, which will lower the chance of system collapse. Now, for Aceh, the main problem is that we cannot really pinpoint the location of these fault lines. So AI can solve in 2 ways, using 2 different sensors. First of all, it can read electrical waves. When a tree hits a transmission line or a transmission line breaks, something happens in the electrical signals. There's going to be an irregularity. Now, the AI can detect the irregularity. It also combines it with sound systems. When something breaks, there's going to be a high-pitched sound. The AI can detect that sound, normal versus abnormal patterns based on, again, machine learning, to see what normal patterns look like and what abnormal patterns look like. Now, the AI synthesizes this and finds the exact location using the speed of the waves to find the exact location of these fault lines. Now, what does this do? They will send a sensor to the data control in which the electricians and technicians can pinpoint the location of these faults faster and react to it quickly. So what does this do? Because of the AI, it saves hours of manual search time. Furthermore, the AI can also control a flip switch that will stop sending electrical signals through that faulty line, which can prevent fires. Furthermore, research has shown that AI can successfully reroute power in under 70 seconds, which is much faster than 3 days. And lastly, we have Lombok. The main problem for Lombok is the tourism rates, which creates blackouts. So to solve Lombok's issue, we must figure out how to reduce the load on individual houses so that it will prevent blackouts in the other places. So if you could look at your simulation once again and click Lombok, you can see how different appliances combined with different wattages can be used to prevent blackouts. So first of all, how does AI do this? AI predicts using past data on tourism rates. For example, what country or what date has the most tourists and hence the most electrical demand. Next, it will also predict the amount of time. Then, with sensors from the data, like the Papua microgrids, it will figure out the best combination of power to be able to distribute through the channels most efficiently. Finally, AI can be used to automatically turn off non-essential items. It can predict which appliances are important and not important. For example, a refrigeration for cooling down your food versus something like a TV. Now, using a combination of total wattage as well as the wattage for the appliances, it'll automatically shut down any appliances that it deems unimportant. It deems unimportant. Now, what is the research and impact of this? In large-scale testing, it's been shown that smart AI houses can reduce power consumption up to 15% in peak hours. This also allows vulnerable microgrids to stop overheating, and which cuts out these blackout rates. So what are the benefits of using AI as a whole? First of all, there's economic benefits. It reduces productivity loss, it helps the economy, it reduces fuel costs, and it increases the efficiency of these cells. And there's also social benefits. You no longer have to be scared of whether your hospital or your communication will be shut down. There's going to be improved internet connectivity and better emergency responses. Next, there's technical benefits from this. Again, AI is much faster, about 10,000 times faster than a normal algorithm. Because of this, there's better grid efficiency, better battery storage systems, and reduced transmission losses. There's also much environmental benefits. Because it's so much more efficient, it reduces both carbon emission and fossil fuel usage. But of course, there are limitations to this. For example, the limited data sets and the limited actual testings in real world makes it uncertain of whether AI can actually run in these models, especially due to the infrastructure in villages right now that may not be up to par. Next, AI acts like a black box. It means that we don't really know what happens in between. We only know the input and the output. So it creates uncertainty in the villages that we actually want to implement them on, and difficulty in trusting them. Next, of course, because it's going to be an AI system, it's going to be technology, there's going to be cybersecurity risks, mostly that there's a potential it may be hacked. And once again, because these villages have old infrastructure, they may be unreliable. The internet connectivity may not be available, so the cloud computing for the AI may not necessarily be stable. And finally, there are financial limitations. Making an AI model is very expensive. And scaling across the country will take a lot of funding. And especially because most AI models now are very expensive, there needs to be a creation of new low-cost and energy-efficient hardware. But of course, that's not the end-all be-all. There are many future directions in order for us to do so that we can actually implement this in real life, such as the development of low-power AI systems, the creation of affordable and smart sensors that can detect different fluctuations in energy, as well as creating an AI model that can actually explain its decisions to increase the trust from the villagers. Because, once again, these blackouts aren't just a momentary power loss. It's uncertainty, it's fear, it's isolation being crept up and spread around every village in Indonesia. So, as AI continues to rise, and as AI continues to be more prevalent in our day-to-day, the question we need to ask is not if we should use AI, but how we can use it responsibly to fix old problems with new solutions. Thank you.